Welcome to Safety Chats, a podcast from Portside Safety and Compliance by Baldwin. Each episode brings real-world experience, practical insight, and honest conversations about safety in aviation and beyond. Let's get started with this week's Safety Chat.
Welcome to the Portside Safety by Baldwin podcast, where we talk about what's actually happening in aviation safety, not just what's written in the manual. This is real-world safety, real decisions, and the conversations that help make operations better every day, because better safety starts with better conversations. Today, we're diving into something every operator says they want more of, but often struggle to get: ASAP reporting. And here's the reality. If you're not getting reports, it doesn't mean you don't have problems. It just means that you're not seeing them. We're going to break it down: why reporting rates actually matter, what's really stopping people from submitting, and what operators say they can do today to turn ASAP into a true safety advantage.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. We're going to start out by asking why ASAP reporting matters. And having been in the airline industry, I came from the 121 side of the world. I think if you've heard before, that's my background. And did spend time overseeing an ASAP program for a couple of carriers. And so in that time, I did get to experience everything we're going to talk about today. So because I saw these things taking place, and it seemed like that ASAP was very underutilized and that we could do more with it. So our goal today is to see how we can help you who have an ASAP program get more out of it. So let's start here. Everyone says that they want more data, but one of the best sources is already sitting right in front of them, and it's underutilized. ASAP isn't just about capturing incidents. It's about capturing human error, procedural drift, and operational pressure. The stuff that doesn't always trigger an event, but absolutely creates risk.
Yeah, and that's where people miss the value. ASAP is one of the few tools that shows you what's happening before something goes wrong.
Yeah, great point, Anne-Marie. Yeah, it's like getting a look behind the curtain. You're seeing how something works essentially and actually real time how it's being done. And it's not normally written in an SOP sometimes.
Yeah, good point, Ryan. And that is so critical. We're getting, like you said, a look behind the curtain. So in that same vein, low reporting doesn't equal safe operations. It usually means one of these three things typically. First of all, people don't trust the system. And I have seen that in my background. People just aren't trusting of the system. We go for this just culture in SMS, and ASAP is a program designed to let you self-report. But for some reason, we're not able to get this across to them to trust the system. And then on top of that, sometimes we lack in our training. They are unsure what to report. And to me, that's just a reflection of the training, the time spent explaining the ASAP program to the individuals that are going to be in it. And then finally, you have to follow through. And so many times I found that they just didn't think anything will happen if they submitted the report. So I always encourage my team whenever I was a director of safety at these carriers was to walk your talk. So we want to make sure that they understand that their report is needed and that something will happen when it's reported.
So you think that higher reporting rates is an equal sign that you have a healthy safety culture?
That's usually a sign, of a healthy safety culture. We definitely want to, keep encouraging employees in that regard. Our efforts can pay off, but we have to be very consistent with those efforts.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a mindset shift for operators that they need to make. And they need to understand this whole shift is, more reports equal more visibility and not, more reports. It doesn't indicate a problem. It just indicates that your people are actually reporting, which is a good thing, right? It ties into that whole safety culture.
Exactly, Ryan. Yeah, that's a very good point. And I have seen that as the programs I was in matured, I did see that taking place. So very, very good point. Well, let's look at some of those barriers we kind of alluded to earlier to reporting. So let's get into the real conversation, why people don't report. Because this is where most programs fall short.
Right. When you say non-punitive, which is what safety reporting is all about, yeah, they'll buy into it, but there is this fear that's behind it. You say it's non-punitive, but maybe the culture has not pointed out to that. Maybe in that same line, they see something happen. Leadership has to shore it up. And they're also worried, if I put this in, what's actually going to happen after I hit that submit button? Am I going to get in trouble?
Yeah, you're right, Anne-Marie. And I think we've all seen this. And I think I would assume a lot of our customers see this too. A lot of their employees inside their companies, I'd say some of them have mistrust of systems, to include ASAP, right? They're worried that what they report might be used against them. And that's why it's having that safety culture that we always keep going back to, having that positive safety culture. So you don't run into those issues, or you try to mitigate those issues to the maximum extent possible. But either way, your employees are always watching you with this process, and you have to stay consistent. What's your thoughts on it, Todd?
Yeah, no, you're right. Because if you don't stay consistent, that trust, you erode that trust level. And that's what you absolutely cannot do if you want this program to be successful. The trust isn't built by just your policy. You can write anything in the book, but it's built by following through, right? Walk your talk, like I said previously.
So I guess while we're on this conversation of barriers, for one of the other barriers is lack of feedback, right? And I think we've all seen that in our operations. And it's probably the biggest one that I've seen so far, honestly. In previous operations, I've seen where if we don't provide that feedback to our employees, or as I like to call them, my customers, if I don't provide that feedback to them, it erodes the trust. Just like the reporting piece, failure to protect your folks. Like I said, I've seen that before in my own time. What's y'all's experiences with that?
Yeah. No, and very good point, Ryan. Again, I'm going to keep using this phrase, walking your talk.
Oh, yeah.
So we build this program, we tell them the importance of it, and we encourage and seek the feedback. And then we get that. And what do we do with it? So you have to be very intentional. If you get that report in and they took their time to give you that feedback on these critical areas of your operations, then you are obligated, and it should be without question that you're going to provide that feedback, because no feedback really, in a sense, equals no engagement at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And then I just want to point out the fact that some people don't even know what to report because maybe they weren't trained on what to report into the ASAP system, or even if it's worth submitting.
Yeah, that's a valid point. And it comes down to the training piece, right? We've talked about in previous podcasts. It's all about training your folks and having them fully understand the whole process and all the different components in that process, and having them comfortable enough to understand the process where they can actually execute it when they need to.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a good point, Ryan. We don't want it to feel like a chore for our customers or our employees. It's not going to happen if we make it feel like a chore. We want those reports to be simple, straightforward, as we try to do here at Baldwin. And that's going to pay dividends if we can take that feel away from there. Just it has to be something that's easy to do. And then that'll encourage the more reporting.
I like it.
Yep. And again, as far as the simplicity goes of the reporting, talk it over with your employees. And there should be just some key elements you put in, and then that goes in the report. And then we go back, we take it as the managers, the ASAP manager, we look at it, and then we'll get back to them if we need more. But just start out with just the basics and watch how that's going to help us start seeing more reporting come in. So again, as I said, we're looking at how to increase the reporting. So we're going to shift solutions. What actually works? We want to look at what actually works, what we found in our experience here in our time in the industry.
Yeah. So how I've increased reporting in my previous operations, a lot of how I got engagement was through training, right? So people are not going to do what they don't know how to do. And if you make the individual or the customer comfortable with the process of reporting, and like we talked about earlier, non-retributory nature, best culture of a company, having that in play, you'll get people to report. It's going to happen. People are going to report when they're comfortable and they're knowledgeable on how the reporting process goes.
Right.
So.
Yep. Consistency matters.
Yeah, it
right?
is. And you have to be consistent, just like you just said. It's all about consistency.
Yeah. And as we break that down a little further, we want to separate out the human error from reckless behavior. So that is a key pillar of the ASAP program, right? Because when the event review committee meets, that's what they're looking for. They're wanting to look at just human error, which, is going to happen. And this is why we have the program versus something that might be intentional and reckless. We want to apply these policies the same every time. So that is the beauty of the way the ASAP is set up with the event review committee.
Great point, Todd. If you want these reports, you have to show people that these reports matter. And just like you just said with the ERC, like that's a great time to display those reports and get total buy-in and have the conversation started with your folks at that company.
Right. And you have to bring the feedback is here's what we saw from our reporting, and here's what we changed. And that transparency will go a long way in an operation.
Yeah, and I drove that home that when people see the impact of their reporting, they will stay engaged. I've seen it time and time again, and we've had some quite successful ASAP programs in the past that I've been a part of, and I can say that's one of the cornerstones of it right there.
Right. And also making reporting easy, right? That is going to be another key point. Make sure you cover that easy reporting by creating short, concise forms, mobile options, maybe few required fields.
Yeah, just like everything else in life, right? If it's quick, it's going to get done. If you make it convoluted and the process hard for your folks, they're not going to do it, right? We are all so busy in this world of aviation. If you don't make something quick and efficient, folks are not going to do it, or they're going to be reluctant to do it. Even if you have the just culture and everybody knows how to do the forms and they're comfortable with them, you've got to have a process that's quick and efficient because we all have a million and one things to do every day, and we don't have time to waste on forms.
And yeah, that's spot on, Ryan. And in that light, in that vein, we want to define what to report, right? So we want to give some real examples. This would, of course, be part of the training process. But whenever we set that training up, include real world examples. So for instance, if this happens, report it. If you see this, submit it. So we've got to lead them because they've got to know, because that's the critical part. It's a program that can immensely help them and protect their certificates they've worked so hard to achieve. And we want to help them protect that. And that's what the ASAP reporting does.
Right. That clarity removes any hesitation in reporting.
Yeah. And I've actually done something like this in the past as part of my training regimen. I built cheat sheets on example scenarios of stuff that needs to get reported, because what I found is I operate the same way. Like I like to work off scenarios if I can, because having the definition of something and just a list of definitions that's a verbatim out of the CFR, a lot of the times it'll get confusing, especially if you're, like we talked about earlier, you're in a time crunch and you're doing 50 things all at the same time. It makes it so much easier just to have a scenario, list and say, hey, oh, wow, that's me. That I fall into that scenario,
Yeah.
I need to submit an ASAP. It's a training piece. Like it always comes down to. It always comes down to having an effective training regimen for your folks.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're spot on there, Ryan, with that as usual here. And you tell your experience that has really helped shape and help you get your programs in a better shape, right? Because you're thinking this way and we're trying to put ourselves in their shoes. But anyway, so one of the things we can do is when we talk about leadership, I would say we probably all agree that how the importance of the leadership, right? It's got to come from the top down. So it's important that we get our leaderships in there, our leadership involved from the very beginning with the ASAP. And if leadership only talks about reporting after something goes wrong, that sends a message, right? So we need to normalize it. So we need to talk about, you have your safety meetings, right? And you could specifically have meetings for ASAP. Of course, the event review committee reviews all the reports, but you could talk about ASAP though in your regular safety meetings. Make it a part of your standing agenda. talk about ASAP in your meetings. What you want to bring out, we protect the confidentiality of the people reporting, but we want to talk about the events themselves and any lessons that we learned, right? So, and then, recognizing the reporting, we want to always, make sure we are doing that and avoid the blame language. That's what turns people off the most is when we're going to blame, and that's opposite of what the ASAP and really SMS and the just culture is about. We want to take that out of the equation and just try to avoid that altogether. So some things you might can do, like within your meetings, you can show reporting rates. That's always a good one just to see, hey, if you see those numbers people are reporting, that's a good thing. You're learning things maybe you probably would have never known about your operations. And then once you start getting those reports coming in, those rates coming up, you're going to start looking for trends. So you want to show those in a meeting. And then from those trends, we want to say, well, what did we do with those trends? What kind of improvements did we make? So all of this is feedback. And as long as the employees are getting to see these in these meetings, they get this information in the safety promotion side of things made available to them. You'll have big benefits from that.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, right, ASAP has to be a living system. It has to actually be a living process. And we have to get out of the mindset of it just being another thing that we have to do. Because once you change that mindset from a living system, things will start changing within your organization because your culture is starting to make a positive change and not just something that is a CFR regulation or a nicety. Do it because you know it's going to improve the lives of your people and your processes long term.
Yeah, good point. And let's look at some final takeaways here of what we've been covering today. Such an important topic, and we hope that our listeners are going to be able to take this information and find ways to strengthen and improve their ASAP. But ASAP isn't just a regulatory requirement. We want to remember that. It's one of the best tools you have to understand real operations, right? Because again, we wouldn't probably know about that event unless they take the time to submit the report. And ASAP gives them that because it takes the pressure off of, we're human. A lot of times there's a reluctance to report, right? I goofed, I made a mistake. But you're human, and the ASAP reports, they recognize that. And that's where you should take full advantage of that.
Right. It gives an operation into everyday decisions.
Yeah.
And not just the outcomes.
That's right. You get that critical insight, right? It just all works together as those reports start flowing in.
Yeah, and increasing reports isn't really about numbers. It really comes down to it's about creating an environment where people feel safe to report. They're heard when they do, really important. And then they're confident something will change, right? So it's having that trust in your customers or your customers trust in you and their company to actually feel confident in knowing that you're going to deliver change to them when they do have these problems. Yeah, thanks guys for the awesome conversation today. We talked about so many cool things about ASAP, but one of the things that I think we need to talk about is, say I'm a brand new safety manager and I'm just trying to get my feet underneath me. And I learned so many cool things about ASAP today, but I don't know how to set up an ASAP program. Todd, can you walk me through how that works?
Yeah, very good. Good point, Ryan. ASAP, the Aviation Safety Action Program. So if you weren't familiar, that is what the acronym stands for. Yes, the FAA has it all laid out for us, which is very nice. So if you're an operator wanting to pursue ASAP, you're going to contact your local FSDO, your CMO. You're going to contact them and let them first know of your interest. And then they're going to ask that you start working on your Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU. So you go to their website, the FAA ASAP website, and then you'll see it. It's laid out very nicely, a little left-hand menu. And you'll find the automated generator, which is very nice with their MOU. All you have to do is go in and fill in the information that they are requesting, and it will automatically generate that MOU for you. And what you will have to do, one thing about the MOU is you have to fill out one for each work group that you want to cover. Typically, that's going to be your pilots, your mechanics, your flight attendants, and dispatchers. Those are the four ones that we typically see that an operator will cover, but you have to have a separate MOU for each of those work groups. Once you get that established, you have to start training. You want to start training for the program. One of the important parts of the ASAP program is the event review committee. So you want to make sure first that you establish your event review committee, and then you're going to train them. They need to know what they're going to do when they meet as that committee. Bottom line is their job is to get a consensus on whether to accept that report under ASAP or not. So that's a high level there for you. You're also then going to be required, once you have your program up and established, your training completed, is to do reporting back to the FAA. So they do require 2 types of reporting quarterly. Every quarter, you're going to generate about a 7-question response to the FAA. And then annually, you want to do a wrap-up of that year, the ASAP reporting for the year, focusing on any trends and any safety enhancements, improvements that you made. And then finally, if you're just not comfortable with tackling ASAP yourself, there are third-party facilitators that can help. So it is allowed for. There's actually even a place on the MOU for a third-party facilitator to sign that MOU. And speaking on that, Baldwin, we do offer an ASAP facilitator program. So if you're looking for that help, it is out there. And if you particularly need our help, then we'd be more than happy to assist you there. Yeah, great conversation here. We've covered a very important topic, as I said just earlier, but we want to leave you with this. One of the things that I think we can derive from this entire conversation today is that keep this in mind. We want to get away from the thinking that more reports don't mean more problems. Think about it the other way. Let's turn that around. They mean you're finally seeing them. So
Great point.
That's the importance of getting this program turned around, taking full advantage of it.
That's right. And now I just want to reiterate, these are very important topics we're talking about. Even if you don't have an ASAP reporting system, the same line of thought goes to your safety reporting overall. So whether it be an ASAP system or a regular safety reporting, hazard reporting program you have in your operation, all of this applies to that. And on behalf of Todd and Ryan, I want to thank everyone for listening to the Portside Safety by Baldwin podcast. If you've got something out of this conversation, share it with someone on your team, because better conversations lead to better operations. We'll see you next time, because better safety starts with better conversations. Stay safe, everyone.
This podcast is brought to you by Portside Safety and Compliance by Baldwin, the leader in safety management for the transportation industry. Since 2004, Baldwin has been providing state-of-the-art solutions and 24/7 support to the aviation and transportation industries. Baldwin's clients include all sizes and types of transportation operators. Baldwin provides safety and related business services to commercial, charter medical transporters, FBOs, MROs, airports, flight schools, UAS operators, firefighters, OEMs, ground transport operators, and others. Visit baldwinsms.com to discover how Baldwin can enhance your organization's safety program.